City to your hometown. We've got the information you need. Turn us on at home, work, and in the car. AM 1300 KGLO.
It is time now for the Greater Mason City Chamber of Commerce be our guest program here on your hometown news station, AM 1300 KGLO, streaming live online at KGLOAM.com and on the KGLO News Facebook page as well. And, of course, this is where we meet some of our business community members. And a lot of the time, it's a new business in our community. Sometimes it's a business that has been a long-time member of our community as well. And just to get everybody up to date on their business. And before we get to our guest today, I just want to talk about something that the Greater Mason City Chamber of Commerce has coming up here. And of course, what makes Mason City a place people that are proud to call home? The Chamber is inviting residents, businesses, and community organizations to help answer that question at the Community Conversations Pride in Place event. That'll take place Wednesday, September 9th from 4 to 5 at the McNider Art Museum. The interactive conversation will build on the Pride in Place community survey to better understand what makes Mason City special, what residents are proud of, and what they believe can be improved. The survey results will be presented to the group and will serve as the starting point for the conversation about Mason City's identity and future. Participants will have an opportunity to share their own perspectives, hear from others, and help identify themes that can contribute to a community culture statement. So that's the Community Conversations Pride in Place event, Wednesday, September 9th, 4 to 5 at the McNider Art Museum here in Mason City. Well, our guest today is Ryan Tostenson, the owner of SnapCache here in Mason City. And Ryan, welcome into the studios.
Thank you so much for having me.
Helps if I turn your microphone on better. Try it again.
Thanks so much for having me.
There we go. I had the wrong button pushed down. But before we talk about your media digitization company, let's just a little background on you before and leading up into being an owner of this business.
Yeah, sure. I love technology as a kid. I was big into computers and radio and things like that. I was always taking things apart and really kind of a steward of tech. And as I grew older, I worked for a small electronics repair company, which progressed into some radio telecommunications in the military, which also progressed into getting out of the military, getting a degree in information technology. And during that time, with all this technical background, a lot of family members and friends had passed away and were no longer with us. And I was always tasked as a technical person in our family to say, "Hey, can you make tribute videos? Can you do these things?" And so, of course, I did. And then come to realize that this is actually a much greater need, and I have the technical ability to do it for families. So therein lies where I started SnapCache.
All right. Well, I'll have you pull that a little bit closer to you, that microphone. Just we want to make sure you can be heard perfectly. But like you mentioned, and I was kind of going through this, a couple of years ago and going through my parents' house and trying to get that all cleaned out. We find all these things that are in drawers and in the attic and in the basement and every place, every other nook and cranny in a home. And some of those things, and I know you brought in a bag of slides. I'm sure there's people, the younger generation, obviously, that may not know what slides and a slide projector and all that kind of thing is about.
And they certainly don't. And I was recently at the Franklin County Fair exhibiting, and there's a lot of younger folks that came through the fair asking, what these slides and negatives were. What is an 8mm film, and how does it work? And because everyone has a phone. So they really had no idea how technology has progressed. So I gave some history lessons while I was there, which was, fascinating to them. But then, parents and family members, walked by the booth and they saw that I was doing this. And it was a great resource for them as well to say, hey, there is someone in the area that can actually transform these into viewable formats today.
And even some of the younger people, now that I'm thinking of this, they may have not even seen, photos that have been printed out.
Exactly.
And, on, the old glossies from Kodak or whatever. But, talk about, I'm guessing VHS tapes are also pretty popular things that get digitized, or you find?
100%. I think most of the media that comes in is video, primarily because that's how people recorded their kids sporting events or your Christmases, etc. They recorded it on video. So a lot of videos come in. That's probably the most prominent thing that I get. But photos are another thing. Photo albums. I've had 55-gallon totes worth of photos, thousands of photos come in. Thousands of feet of film reels. All these things come in. Yes, VHS tapes are the primary thing that comes through the door, but we can digitize everything. And what's great about that is that the people that come in with these things, they don't have a VHS player anymore. Their equipment's broken. They can't hook it up anymore. And it's now so convenient. You can literally watch them from your phone and wherever you are. And even better, if you want to share this and you have friends or family abroad or outside the area, you can simply forward them a link and they can watch it too. It makes it super convenient for everybody involved.
Because it goes like into a cloud drive or something like that.
Yep.
I'm sure there's probably, besides VHS, I'm sure there's different video formats that you've probably run into as well.
Absolutely. So we have all the different video formats, including 8mm, and there are 3 different types of 8mm based on which one you have. You may try and replay it in what you think is the proper player, and it looks like a blank tape. If it's not played back on the proper formatted player, it will look blank, but for the most part, when people have had that experience, they actually have video on it. So please bring it to me. I can check and see if you actually have video on it. We also do other formats, mini DV, micro MV. These are formats that were introduced in the late 80s, early 90s from Sony. They didn't last very long, but still people have them. So we can convert some of those older formats. Even the mini CDs from JVC and Sony, we can do those as well. And also newer technology, DVDs and CDs. I don't transfer anything to those anymore, and people are actually coming to me with stacks of CDs and DVDs full of photos and other things to try and get them consolidated into one format. So it's a kind of a perfect segue. All this technology is coming into one.
You mentioned Sony, and it just popped into my mind. We talk about different formats of things. Sony, I think, ran through everything because and you mentioned most of them. The other one that I was thinking too was the mini CD, the mini compact disc, which comes in a square case, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't even know what a mini CD was. And I think we've got a mini CD player still from way back when in the rack behind me here. But it's just people just don't think of these formats, and then all of a sudden and then they probably come to you and they're like, I don't know what format's in, and then of course you hopefully have the right answer.
Oh, absolutely. And then the other part which I want to bring awareness to the fact that we are a local business and we can solve this problem. And the problem exists usually when someone passes away or someone inherits an estate and they have totes of things or they're tasked with, what do I do with this stuff?
Yeah.
And there's never a local resource there, and then oftentimes, and it pains me every time I hear the story and someone tells me, my brother-in-law just died, last year and I threw it all away. Oh, and it kills me to know, like, you just threw all of that away and you can't ever review it anymore. You can't share it. The only memory you have is what is in reference in your mind, but having something visible to see, it just, especially for folks, they're even going through memory care, trying to remember their loved ones or going through that process and having some tangible or not tangible things that they can view on a screen. It's great for them to actually remember their loved ones. Or in other cases, voices. The last time they heard their parents' voice or their son's voice, or maybe a family member died early, and being able to see that stuff, it's so important. And it makes me feel good knowing that I'm putting a smile on someone's face and and tears of joy for the most part. So it's pretty cool.
We talked about photos and videos, audio recordings too,
yes.
Or maybe just go through that.
Yeah, we do reel-to-reel audio. We can do microcassette, regular audio cassettes, any audio CDs, as long as they're not copyrighted. We don't do any copyrighted material, but we certainly do copy that into a digital format. So absolutely.
How about other types of documents?
Documents, any documents, regardless if it's a statement size letter, up to 8.5 by or 11 by 17, we can scan those as well. I think the last thing that came through our office was a late manuscript of an individual. It was about 1,500 pages of a book that never got turned in and that they wanted to have digitized for their family to view. So anything like that can certainly be done.
Maybe, talk about the process of opening up your business, and maybe, obviously as well, tell us where you're located at.
Sure. The process of opening up my business, my wife will be pleased to know that I'm no longer in the basement as of last year. Really started as just a love of doing this. And I started this in a basement of our house. and then eventually realized that having a storefront location obviously is going to be better for everybody. And so we're located in downtown Mason City at 202 First Street Southeast, Suite 108 in Peterson Plaza.
Okay.
And we've been there since August of last year. Just re-signed the lease again for another year, so looking forward to another strong year, and hoping to serve more community members.
Well, like you were talking about, obviously seeing people come in and getting some of those memories back, one way or the other. That's that in itself has got to be rewarding as a business owner.
100%. I had a gentleman from Clear Lake not too long ago come in with about 800 slides from Vietnam that he hasn't seen in 45 years. And it was a touching experience to have. He was reliving moments, and he was a tanker in Vietnam, and you could watch him relive what was happening there, and it still gives me goosebumps thinking about it. It's like,
I agree with you.
But it's such a neat experience to be able to do that for people, and that's super rewarding.
Talk about, maybe just talk about if somebody's listening to this and they're like, man, I've got some things that I need to bring into you. What's the process? Maybe even what's the cost on these types of services?
Sure. The cost varies by the media type, but you can certainly visit my website or visit me online on Facebook, or you can simply give me a call and I can happily give you a quote. You can just tell me what you have and I can walk you through whatever the cost might be. It's really easy to do. It's free, as there's no obligation, and we can piece things together. Maybe you want to see what the output looks like before you commit to a bigger project. Absolutely, that's totally fine. There's no minimum. Right. If you want to bring in one slide for me to do, it's fine. I can do that. If you want to bring in 1,000, I can do that too. It doesn't matter.
You have a little special going on right now?
A little special going on. So first year, August marks the first year that I was here in Mason City. So if anybody mentions the word first year throughout the rest of August, they get 20% off. And if they're also a military member, they get an additional 10% off. Nice. So potentially, I just had a client come in yesterday and they got a full 30% off their orders. So
nice. Very nice.
A few days left in the month. If you want to stop in and get a quote and get your stuff to me right away, save you some money along the way.
I'm still have goosebumps from your Vietnam story there, the veteran story. That's, you 45 years. Yeah, just imagining, not seeing a picture or maybe some of the people in those pictures in 45 years and being able to pull that up. Talk about maybe, in the preservation side of things. I'm sure maybe in some cases people will bring something in and it's deteriorated beyond the recovery level, or maybe just talk about, obviously videotapes deteriorate, reel-to-reel tapes deteriorate. Nothing is really meant to last forever.
No, and it's not. So, and then we haven't had, I think we had one case where a video was just unplayable. One tape where it was not playable. I have several different decks that I try and make sure I can capture video and sound off of, and sometimes in this one particular case it didn't work. So and that's a one-off, but for the most part what we find with videos is that there's color degradation, there's color loss, there's some audio syncing issues. So what we do is when we go through and record or digitize a videotape, for example, we automatically color correct the video. So if you're taking an old VHS tape of your kid inside of a gymnasium that has the old yellow tungsten lighting, it's very yellow and it doesn't look as good. So we color correct that, color correct the white balance, bring things back to the colors that you remember them, hopefully, as well as sometimes when you play them on a non-professional or consumer deck, you'll see banding across the top and some color lines. We try and remove those as best as possible, if not all the time. And for pictures and other things, we certainly do all the color correction, the white balance correction, removing dust and particles, etc., just to try and give you the best quality output possible. So in photos, you can bring in a photo that's completely torn in half and we can stitch that back together and make it perfect. So sometimes you can find the right answer to get that all corrected. So that's good. Anything else you want to add before we let you go? Like I say, you've got a very, this is the type of business that a lot of people, I'm sure, will want to be, taking advantage of, like I say, getting some of those memories back into their hands. Oh, absolutely. I think if for anybody who has any questions, please reach out to 641-200-4190 and be happy to answer any questions that they might have. Free quote, obviously, but stop on by. Otherwise, downtown Mason City, again, 202 First Street Southeast, Suite 108 inside Peterson Plaza. And yeah, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You can find you on Facebook as well.
That's right.
All right. SnapCache. That's SnapCache. Easy for me to spell, right?
That's right.
Ryan, thanks again for coming in to join us on the Be Our Guest program. And hopefully some more people will take advantage of your services, well-needed services here in Mason City.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
You bet. Ryan Tostenson, the owner of SnapCache here in Mason City. That's the Be Our Guest program from the Greater Mason City Chamber of Commerce here on your hometown news station, AM 1300 KGLO.